All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Eddie Live Podcast, episode number 267. I'm here with Jacob Pugmire. How you doing, brother?
Hey, doing well. Thank you for having me today.
Appreciate it, man. I was going through your stuff, and man, you're in shape, man. What's the secret? Shoot.
The secret, huh?
Yeah.
I've been training for a long time.
Okay.
When I was younger, I competed in climbing. So that was my sport during high school. So I traveled around the U.S. and went to competitions for that. And then after I graduated, I became a personal trainer. So I studied up a lot on that. Yeah. So just kind of built a good routine over the years and been doing it consistently.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Okay. Cool, man. That's so that was in the States.
Yeah, that was all in the States. Yeah.
Okay. And you're from Seattle?
Yes.
Right?
Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Seattle before we start.
Seattle. Seattle is a rainy, cold place, but it's very beautiful there. The nature is pristine, and Seattle is situated in a place called Puget Sound, and so it's actually next to the ocean.
Okay.
And on the west side, on the peninsula, is a mountain, and on the east side is also a mountain.
Okay.
And so it's basically this city that's surrounded by both ocean and mountain, and it's very beautiful there.
Okay.
The nature is... You have to go.
Okay. I'm actually, so I'm from, when people say the Northwest, I'm actually from way Northwest. I'm from Canada, right? Like close to Alaska, like way up there, right? So yeah, it's beautiful. I would guess it's a small town, but you know, it's beautiful as well and stuff. So I love it. I love going out to visit and stuff, but came out here a long time ago, 20 plus years ago, and loved it. Didn't think I'd stay that long. But what about you, man? What brought you from Seattle to Taipei?
Ooh, what brought me to Taipei?
Oh.
So, yeah, I'm from the U.S., and my first time ever leaving the U.S. was going to Beijing, China.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I was just 19 years old, just spontaneous trip, went there, couldn't speak Chinese at all, and I just wanted to see a different part of the world. And when I went there and saw a whole new culture, a whole new language, it kind of opened my eyes.
Okay.
And after that, I was like, okay, I don't want to be like monolingual American that never leaves the country. I want to go and see the world. And I decided I want to learn a second language. So I picked Chinese because, okay, a lot of people can speak it, right? And it's pretty important. And so I was thinking, okay, China or Taiwan, and then ended up coming to Taiwan. Heard it's quite safe here, quite free, good relationships with the U.S.
Okay.
And so came here and been here ever since.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit. So you went to Beijing.
Oh, yes.
That was the first kind of like, got your passport.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go somewhere. I'm going to Beijing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what I'm curious about why, out of anywhere in the world, why Beijing?
Why Beijing? At that time, I did have a girlfriend from China.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a big reason.
That's the answer. All right, okay.
But I mean, of course, I've always been interested in Asia, I think, because it seemed like the culture was quite different from the U.S. And I had a lot of friends from Asia because Seattle's on the West Coast. They all love to come to the West Coast of the U.S. to study.
Vancouver, Seattle, LA. Yeah.
So a lot of the foreigners that I met were from Asia, and they were pretty cool in my university. So I wanted to hang out with them and learn more about their culture.
Okay, and then so you just said, okay, I'm going to go to Beijing.
Yeah.
And so when people mention like Beijing in the States or in Seattle, what's kind of like the first thing people think about?
Oh,
is there a thing? No?
I mean, I think the less like world traveled Americans perhaps have a stigma against China with all the conflict the two countries have had for a long time, and so they have like maybe some misconceptions of how it is and things like this, that perhaps it's underdeveloped or it's quite polluted and things like this. I know in the past Beijing was very polluted, but when I went there it was okay. And honestly, I was traveling just for 8 days, so I don't have like the perfect picture of how everything was. But I was surprised by, when I first went there, like how developed the infrastructure is. Like compared to the U.S., there's all these like potholes and everything's like falling apart. We don't have MRT stations. We don't have U-bikes or like these electric scooters or these easy modes of transportation. The streets aren't like walkable, but in Beijing there was a bit more.
So when I go back to Canada, and you know everybody knows I'm in a small town, so everybody kind of knows everyone, and everybody knows I live in Taipei in Taiwan. And every time I go back, they're like, "Oh my gosh, aren't you scared of China's coming? What about China?" That's what, because the news is always like all they talk about whenever someone mentions Taiwan. It's like, "Oh my gosh, China's coming," and I just tell them that I live here, and most people don't really. Yeah, I mean, they're just kind of living their life, and you know, whatever happens, happens. But I've been here for 20 years, and it's the same. 20 years ago it was the same thing. They're like, "Oh my gosh, China! Oh my gosh, China!"
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's kind of that's why I wanted to ask that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I get messages about that from my parents like every day.
Yeah. Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure,
So
sure.
I know what you're talking about.
It's crazy. Yeah. So then, let's talk after Beijing. You went back to States, and then you decided, I'm coming here to Taipei.
It was a roundabout trip because
Okay.
I actually originally applied and got into a program to study in Chengdu, China.
Okay.
Yes, but then COVID happened because
Oh.
I went to Beijing in 2019 in August, September, right before COVID.
Okay.
And it was like, after I came back, it was like maybe a few months, and then COVID's all around the world.
Okay.
It was, yeah. So I was like stuck in the US in quarantine, and I really wanted to go. And that program was canceled. It was kept postponed. And so I ended up going to Thailand to study.
I was going to say, so you were in the States for COVID there? You were in Thailand?
I was in the
Okay.
States for the first part, and then
Okay.
I was actually the first students to re-enter Thailand
Okay.
since the pandemic.
Okay.
And so I had to go through the whole quarantine there. And it was interesting there because there was also no foreigners when I was in Thailand.
Okay.
Even like, normally the program, right, would be like hundreds of students. I think there was only 7 or 8 of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I remember like I traveled to other parts like Raleigh Beach in Krabi, just some beach that's normally very popular.
I've heard of Krabi, actually.
Yeah.
I've heard it's nice. Yeah.
It's very beautiful, and there was no one there. And we got the hotel for like $10 a night, 5-star hotel.
Wow.
Because basically every business was shutting down in
Yeah.
Thailand. Because the economy is like 99% tourism. Obviously not 99%.
But it's huge. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, the food's good,
Yeah.
right? It's about the food and the entertainment, and then the fights or whatever, right? Yeah, that's awesome. Did you go check out some fight gyms? I seen you doing some fighting stuff at UFC gym here. Did you go out? Were you into like any of the Muay Thai stuff at the time, or?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, out of all the martial arts, I've only really practiced Muay Thai.
Okay.
But I really like Muay Thai, and it's a pretty straightforward martial art, right?
Okay,
It's just
okay.
like effective. You have, you use your fists, your elbows, your knees, and your legs, and it's just like aggressive. You just move forward, attack enemy, It's
Okay, yeah,
not
yeah.
anything complicated.
Don't have to think too much, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny because I've been to Thailand a few times, and one of the cool things was I can't remember where it was, but we were going down this like walking street, and we went into like a bar, and in the bar they had the ring, and people
Yeah.
like fight. You can go up and fight, and I'm like,
Yeah.
shoot, I'm not going in there, But people, you would get like big, drunk dudes in there, and they challenge these little Thai guys and get
Yeah.
knocked out.
Yeah,
Head
yeah,
kick,
yeah,
knocked
yeah,
out. It's
yeah.
kind of crazy. I'm like, I'm not that guy. I'm just chilling. I'm having my beer. Entertaining though, for sure. Fast
Yeah.
fights. Just a quick head kick and bam, over.
I really want to try that. Actually, I'm really interested in fighting. I'm just really afraid of brain damage.
Okay, yeah. Well, there's some striking, fighting and stuff here as well. Yeah. Do you do a lot of the training as well here with UFC gym, or?
Yeah, so I go to the UFC gym. I'm quite a cross trainer though, so like,
Okay.
I'll do like Muay Thai one day, rock climbing one day,
Gotcha.
weightlifting another day, and just switch between it all. So I'm not actually like very good at any one particular thing. I
Okay,
kind of
okay.
spread out throughout all of these different ones. Because if
Nice.
I do the same thing, I get bored.
That's the entrepreneur thing we're talking about. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely you get bored, right?
Yeah.
So coming into town here, you're doing modeling.
Yeah.
Were you modeling before in the States?
No, I actually
No? You
started,
started here.
in Taiwan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the modeling life in Taiwan.
Yeah, so I mean, it was quite progressive in the beginning. So I just, I made some connections, met some models here in Taiwan, met some photographers, slowly taking some shoots, and then we ended up shooting some commercials and things like this, and then it just kept progressing to where I signed on with an agency, and then I was freelancing, and then I'm on with a new agency now.
Okay.
I do enjoy modeling a lot. You can learn a lot from it, and you can build some really cool connections.
Yeah, for sure.
With a lot of people around the world. You know, it's a very small community, and everybody knows each other.
Okay.
And so you'll meet people from Russia and Ukraine and Brazil and Hungary and all of these wonderful countries, and you get to learn about their culture. So I really like that
Nice.
part of the industry. And then as for modeling itself, it's an interesting skill because, I mean, it does like teach you things like confidence and aesthetics and
Sure,
how
okay.
to act and perform. And I think these skills can be translated into some other things. So like, I don't know, if you want to shoot videos in the future, maybe you can apply some of the skills that you learned from modeling. And
Nice.
yeah, and I think also maybe some networking opportunities if you attend parties, things like this.
Sure, of course. I was waiting for the party stories.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on,
the
you know?
parties are good.
The parties are good, I'm sure. Models everywhere, right? I would imagine.
yeah.
How is it getting gigs? I mean, blonde hair, blue eyes. I would imagine it's quite popular. No, being
Yeah.
popular out here for that.
It's decent, I would say, but I think also, you know, most models, they start very young. I started quite later than other people, and so I had to build up some of the skills. Now I think I'm at the point where, okay, I'm getting more confident with it.
Okay.
And it's not too much of an issue. But obviously, the size of my body is a big problem for modeling.
Okay.
Most models, they're very skinny, and so a lot of times they can't actually fit in the clothes, which is a major problem.
That's funny. Yeah.
But the modeling, it is going well, and I think there are some other opportunities in like acting and things like this that I can try out.
Okay.
And so I really do enjoy it and hope to keep progressing this career so I can travel to other countries.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I remember. I mean, I've been here for a long time, so I did some of that stuff way back, like 20 years ago. And I remember being like, I'm about 185 centimeters, and I was like 75 kilos or something, right? And there was me, and there was a bunch of Taiwanese guys, right?
Yeah.
And they were all about my height,
Yeah.
but they were like 60 kilos, right?
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
tiny.
Oh.
And and that time I was in shape. I thought, wow, you know, all of the models were talking to their agents
Yeah.
there, and the agents were like, man, you got to get to 50.
Damn.
And I'm like, 50? I think I was 50 when I was 12, maybe, you know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy. Like, you got to get to 50. And they're like, I'm trying. And they're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, man, I'm 75. This is now I'm way more than that. But at the time, I
Yeah.
thought that's crazy. Yeah.
I'm 85.
There you go. Yeah. So you got to get to 50.
You gotta
man.
get to 50,
Gotta
drop
get to
35 kilos.
Just cut off an arm or something.
Damn.
That's crazy.
I mean, I have some model friends, and they're like, you know, like everyone is normally trying to gain muscle mass.
Sure,
But I
yeah.
have model friends that are like, how do we lose muscle mass? And they're like, there's no YouTube videos, there's no articles telling you how to lose muscle mass.
It's pretty niche, right?
Yeah,
I
it's a
mean, like
very-
how to cut out all your muscle.
Yeah, all of the hard-earned muscle over the years.
That's
how do I get
crazy.
rid of that?
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. So you were talking about you're doing modeling, and like you would want to do some entrepreneurial stuff, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the entrepreneurial stuff that you want to do out here. Some ideas, like you were talking about, like I have the restaurant. There's so many things you can do.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been pulled towards entrepreneurship since a young
Okay.
age because my family, like my dad and my uncles, have always done this, starting their own companies and things like this. So I was exposed to it at a young age.
Okay.
But I'm also like the type of entrepreneur that just gets started on a project and then a new shiny thing comes along and I start chasing that project, and consistency is probably my biggest flaw. But as for like what I want to start, I think that is a big question, right? Like it's a big commitment, right? Because I think you may not see progress for the first 1 to 3 years, if even then. It could
Yeah.
take a long time. And so how do you pick the one thing that you think would be the best for you?
It's tough.
So
Yeah.
that's quite a difficult choice. I think right now my biggest goal is going into content creation.
Okay, yeah.
Trying to shoot videos and trying to shoot podcasts. And actually, my dream since I've been a kid was actually like writing books, but I've never actually
Okay.
got around to that.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
That's
So,
cool. So writing books, doing some content creation stuff,
Yeah.
right? You have a channel, right? You have your YouTube channel.
Yeah. I recently started a YouTube channel and some other social medias.
Yeah, well, yeah. Tell me about like a style of video, or what kind of videos would you like to do? Like, there's so many, like, like a podcast, or like a travel style video, or just like a daily life vlog, or what do you think you want to try?
So I am going down two paths right now, I would say. One is kind of like the daily vlog. I kind of want to showcase my lifestyle and try to keep that, to have it be entertaining, just entertaining,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
So that's one. But the main goal actually is, I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't like read these certain books or listen to these people or meet these certain people, and they really changed my mindset and helped me pursue like self-development and things like this that have made me into who I am, and I'm very happy for that. And so like my biggest goal is actually to continue on that tradition and to encourage other people to do the same thing and teach some of the mindset, because I think most of your life is actually shaped by how you think. And if you can develop your own life philosophy, it can come with a lot of benefits later on in life. And so that's what I want to teach, but I'm trying to figure out a way to do it where it's not like so I can build a community, and where it's not like me just talking and nagging or rambling. How do you do it in
I know
like
what you mean.
in an entertaining way?
Do you have any like particular maybe books that were just like, this one like nailed it for me?
Well, I mean, one that's really popular is Atomic Habits, but there's one that I thought was interesting called The Courage to be Disliked by Others.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, good title.
And it talks about how a lot of the problems that we have in life is basically fear of judgment by others, right? Almost all of the problems that you have, or, for example, you might be afraid to start a certain thing because you fear what other people will think of you, or you might be afraid to do this because it might hurt your reputation, and then maybe you won't find a partner in life, or friends won't like you, or something like this. There's like, the whole book is really interesting how it's written, because it's basically it's written in the perspective where there's like an ordinary guy and then there's like a philosopher, and the whole book is just them talking it out. Basically, they're just having a dialogue the entire book. And so I thought the way they wrote the book is really interesting, and I think it's based off of Adler's Adlerian psychology.
Yes. Yeah.
Some psychology branch that's different from Freud and different from Carl Jung. There's a third branch. Apparently these three guys, I think, know each other at the same time, these psychologists. They're like three famous psychologists. Yeah.
Okay.
And he has just a very interesting philosophy, and I really agree with most of it,
Okay, nice,
so
man.
It's a cool book.
That's cool, yeah. When I started, I mean, we just kind of started. We didn't really research anything, and we didn't really become, I don't know, I think the mindset's so important. Like, we didn't really become, like successful, or didn't really get in the right headspace until, start to read a little bit, and it's super important for sure. Yeah, because I remember, I think the first kind of, it's not a self-help thing, but like the first kind of restaurant sort of business book thing I read was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah,
that's
one
huge,
too. Yeah.
Right? So it's like, you go through this, and first I sucked at school, right? So then everyone's like, do good in school and then get your job and work till you're 60 or whatever, and then retire.
Yeah.
And I always thought, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound right, but everybody's telling you to do it. And then eventually I read this book, and I thought, wow, that makes more sense. The rich dad and the poor dad, the different mindset and stuff. So, the poor dad, I guess, the poor dad was kind of, super educated, and he was kind of like, getting his salary and stuff. And I thought it was cool. Man, it was a good book. And then after that, I was recommended one called The E-Myth Revisited. The E-Myth. It's like an entrepreneurial myth, and basically, it's not specific for restaurants, but basically this guy goes through a story where he talks about this. There's this. I think she's a baker. She has this lady has a bakery, and she's she kind of wants to expand, but she doesn't have any idea. She's kind of building systems and stuff like that, which has helped us a lot, because we just in the beginning, I thought we just teach every single person to be a chef, but it's really slow. It's really slow to do that. But eventually, you kind of you teach, what I did was you teach your recipes and you kind of measure things out and you kind of try to make things not necessarily foolproof, but like as consistent as possible. So these two books for me were huge, man. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I definitely think reading is huge.
Yeah.
I didn't do much of it in school, honestly.
Yeah.
But after we started this, and I thought, and then you're talking about the shiny object thing, right? For me, I did. I love that. Like I always try everything. Like if we tried the restaurant, and then I would, on the side, I tried like MLMs, and I tried like all this other stuff, crypto, and I've tried like just almost, like I still do some of that, but I've just tried everything and just thought, it always sounds nice if you have like your main gig and then your kind of your side hustle money. It always sounds good. We're still working on that, but
yeah,
it's tough. It would be nice to have the multiple streams of income, right?
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's not so easy sometimes. But just got to keep going.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I think about the books, you can see how like that one book can change your entire mindset, which then therefore changes your entire life. And so I think passing on that tradition is quite important. And besides books, you can also listen to podcasts.
The podcast, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And have conversations with interesting people.
Yeah.
I find like it may feel like something that's not so productive, but having these conversations with people introduces some like spontaneity into your life where you could learn something that changes your entire trajectory, and you need to have the chance for serendipity to happen.
I love podcasts. I mean, the first podcast I listened to was Joe Rogan, right? I think I know now people it's like love hate. I don't know why people would hate him, but he's got great podcasts. But like some of the stuff I learned from his podcast would be like the intermittent fasting stuff, and kind of I've tried the different diets and stuff. Like I've tried the carnivore and stuff, which is good. It's tough. It's tough. It's a tough diet, but when you get older, it's harder to put muscle on and easier to get fat. So
so are you currently on intermittent fasting?
I still do the intermittent fasting.
Carnivore diet?
But carnivore, I tried a few times and I kind of stopped a few times because it's tough. It always like I'd say the first week just like destroys my stomach. I don't know if it's detox or whatever, but I got to be like by the toilet, for a week, and I'm just like, it's pretty rough. Eventually, it's supposed to get better, but I've tried it. I got to try it again because I need to drop some poundage here. But you were studying as well in Taiwan, right?
Yeah.
So you came here to study.
Yes.
All right. So tell me a little bit about what you were studying and then how that's going.
Okay. So I studied at Taida, just Chinese for 1 year.
Okay. Perfect.
Right? So I had to bring my Chinese up from 一点都不会 to where I can speak okay enough.
That's great.
And then afterwards, I went to Shida and I studied business administration.
Okay, nice. Okay.
And I studied there for just 1 year, and then I decided I don't want to continue studying.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I went into it. I really do love Shida, and I do love the program there.
Okay.
The only problem was this was happening at the same time my modeling career has started to develop.
Okay.
And so, like, I either had to choose basically work and develop maybe like modeling and networking and content creation, or I can work in this university, study there, I mean, for 4 years and come out of it at Route 1, basically at the beginning again.
Yeah.
And I would basically have to start basically the same thing, but in just 4 years' time. And I thought, okay, procrastinating it maybe is not the most direct route to go. So it's a bit of a shame because I do want to study. But the problem is like if I skip one class, I already cannot keep up.
I can imagine. It's in Chinese? Or?
It's taught all in Chinese, yeah. And each class is like 3 hours. And one day I was at school for like 12 hours because I had like 3 classes, each are 3 hours long, right?
Oh.
And so it's like my Monday was like from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And, like if I had work that day, for example, we had a shooting or something, and I missed that day. Oh, the whole semester is gone. It's over.
That's crazy.
Because there's no way you can self-teach yourself like the Chinese, 9 hours of like calculus and accounting and all of these things. Yeah, no.
That's tough. Like I have a daughter who's just gone into junior high, And yeah, she goes to local school. She went through the local school system.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way different than what I did. You know,
Yeah.
it's harder, and it's more homework, and it's long days.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, man. It's crazy how much pressure, school pressure,
It's too
gets put
much.
on kids. I remember, I think it was maybe I would say grade 1, but let's say maybe grade 2.
No.
She started having like midterms. And I'm
Oh.
like, oh man. She'd be like,
Boy, oh
I got
boy.
the big test, and I'm like, what's going on? They're like, well, they have the big one, halfway through the semester, and then one at the end. I'm like, that's like a midterm, right? And they're like, yeah, we got midterms in grade 2. I thought, shoot, that's crazy.
That's wild.
So grade 2 is probably like 7 or 8. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Where I was just, playing outside all day, and there's midterms and stuff, man. It's crazy.
I worked as a 补习班 teacher in
Oh
Taiwan
yeah.
as well.
Tell me about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
When I came here, I coached soccer.
Okay.
And then I also taught English as well. I taught kindergarten. I think everybody does that.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's pretty. I think it's easy to get into.
Yeah.
And then
Pays okay
it's
as
pretty.
well.
Yeah, the pay's good.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like demand is high. I remember like I said
Yeah.
20 years ago when I came here. There used to be like Blockbuster videos, right? So there'd be like a video store or whatever. It'd be like a Friday night, and I'd go down and I'm like, I worked all week. I'm just gonna get a movie or rent a game and then just go home or something, right? You go into like the video store, and everybody in there, there were foreigners, but not that many, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, come to teach at my school. Oh, teach my daughter. Oh, come and do this, come and do that. And it's like, well, I just kind of want to rent a movie. And they're like, no, how much? How much do you want? How much do you want? It was crazy, right?
Wow.
The craziest thing was always like, oh, teach my daughter. And I'm like, how old's your daughter? They'd be like, oh, she's 19. And I'm like, I was like 23.
Yeah.
Like, you want me,
Yeah,
to hang out with your daughter? And they're just like, yeah, teach her English. And I'm like, because everybody's so nice and sometimes a bit
yeah.
naive, right? And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay,
definitely.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, okay, kind of crazy times, man, back in the day. But yeah, I taught English, I taught kindergarten, I coached soccer. I actually enjoyed it a lot, but
Yeah.
eventually got married and thought, let's do our own thing, and so ended up, we started with a stand in a night market, and then a small restaurant and a medium restaurant, and then this,
Yeah. Wow.
we had two, a couple times they overlapped, and just before COVID, we closed the little one down, and then we focused on this one and packed it out. It was like 7 days a week packed. Then COVID came and everything kind of just went,
Yeah.
which kind of crushed everybody, and
That sucks.
it did suck. So, yeah, it kind of trashed our the savings and stuff. But now it's not quite where it was pre-COVID, but it's decent. Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of places didn't make it, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
we're still here, still rocking, man.
Oh.
So, I mean, you tell me a bit about the podcast a little bit more, because I'm huge huge podcast guy, right? Tell me about your podcast. About you wanted to do it and you did it. I listened to a few episodes, which is cool when I was
Yeah.
prepping for this.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
about the breakup with your girlfriend and stuff like that. And yeah, it's cool. Tell me about that. Tell me about the idea for the podcast.
okay. So I attempted two different kinds. So I originally did just an audio only version, and I just posted on Spotify.
Spotify, yeah.
And this one was actually just kind of like a audio journal where
Okay,
I
yeah.
was just recording what I was doing to further myself in life.
That's cool.
I called it like the Entrepreneur Odyssey was
yeah,
the
no,
name.
I saw that. Yeah. It's awesome, man.
I was just trying to document because I think there's a lot of young guys that could relate to me where, okay, maybe, they don't have so many skills and they don't have capital or they don't have networking. And
Yeah.
how do they bring themselves from this like level 1 noob, this
Noob.
No,
All right, I love
right?
it.
Like
yeah.
you can say this. Like basically you're at the beginning of the game, right? You're level
Yeah.
0, level 1.
Yeah.
And how do you get yourself up to where you want to be, right? And it's a big progression.
It's tough. Yeah.
So I think, you see all of these successful people nowadays and they're wealthy and rich and they're living the life that you want to live.
Yeah.
But
the nomad, the laptop lifestyle, all
but
that
you
stuff.
don't know how they got there.
And then what you buy their course and you don't learn anything from it.
Yeah.
I've bought a few of those courses, man. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
thought like a more innocent way of doing that was
Yeah.
actually just like hands on the ground, like every day, just record what you're doing,
I
and
love
then
it, yeah.
somebody can follow your like breadcrumb trail to however like in the future, like if I do succeed in 3-5 years, they can follow that path and try to copy some of the things I learn and try to learn from it. So
Nice.
that was one.
What was the other one?
The other one was, so like earlier I talked a little bit about how I really think if you can just train like, so like your behavior and your mindset can basically shape your entire life. And so I tried to learn like these really important principles either from books or podcasts, and then I elaborate on them and I basically talk about them in this
That's
podcast.
great. Yeah.
And then I clip it and something like this, and then I share it with people. And that one actually seemed to do quite well on YouTube because, you know, like one of these like little things can be like a very simple statement or something, right? Like,
that's the stuff that I watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
All those shorts and stuff, or Instagram, all the shorts that come up, or the reels or whatever. Yeah, it's all.
And if it's something you haven't heard before, or if it's like a question, even if it's just a question,
even a quote, right?
Yeah, a quote, and you just like start thinking about it. It just might like link some things in your brain, and you're like, wow, this is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I really enjoy, and so that's something I also want to continue more, just because I think a lot of people, they have really amazing ideas throughout the day, but they just don't record it, and they don't share it with people.
That's huge.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think for us to advance, everyone brains, the communication, everything has to be working together. Yeah,
for sure. There's actually I used to do this when I was younger, but I used to carry this little book around and just kind of jot this stuff down. And when I did some research, apparently they call it a Hemingway book, and that's what Hemingway used to do. He used to like write. He'd have this little book and just kind of write it down. And because now, you know, I have, you know, a bunch of ideas or whatever, and I'm so busy. By the time I get home, I remember that there was an idea,
but you don't know what the idea was.
I have no idea, and I'm just lost. And I thought, shit, you know, those could be, you know, those $1 million ideas or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they're just gone, and maybe you'll remember, but for me, usually I don't. Yeah. It's crazy.
I have the same habit. I have every day on my phone. I even timestamp it, like when I had the thought, and I basically so at the end of the week or something, I can go through and I basically take the thoughts I have and. Like my biggest passion actually is one of my biggest passions is writing. So I write on my website.
Nice. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
and I just write random articles about things.
That's
just
awesome.
My thoughts.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing that? Since you came to Taiwan, or were you doing it before? Like the website and all that?
The website and the podcast mostly just hasn't even been a year yet, actually.
Okay.
It's not that long.
Okay.
It took a long time to figure out even how to set it up.
It's hard.
Even the website. Even like, you don't even know what like...
the website looks good. It looks good. Yeah, I was checking it out.
That was through many iterations.
Okay, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
There was me sitting on like Canva or like the fucking... Sorry, language.
That's okay. It's all good.
Logo makers, like trying to tweak it all. That was a nightmare. I was picking like the color, like which shade of yellow is the correct shade.
Yeah. And then you do the research, and it gets even more confusing. You know, when you want to, you know, have a restaurant, it's like, why is McDonald's red and yellow? Because that makes you hungry and happy, and you're like, really? Oh.
Even like the most basic concepts, like what's the difference between a post and a page? I didn't even understand. Just like this, the most basic. Like when I was going into it, I really didn't understand. Like what is it, AF something tag or something, like what is SEO, like how do you optimize it?
Well that stuff is crazy, because when you have your own business, you have to wear so many hats, right? You have to like, you know, business. I remember, so we've been around since before Facebook, right? And I remember we had our first little restaurant, and a friend of mine's like, hey, there's this new thing, you know, it's called Facebook. You should check it out. It might help your business. And I'm like, oh, cool. And so after about a year, you know, I checked it out, and it did help, right? And then organic posts were massive. And then organic posts went to like 0 almost, you know, and that has to be paid. And then it's like, okay, now you have to learn, you know, Facebook ads. And then it's like, okay, well, now Facebook is kind of, now you got to learn Instagram ads. And it's like, oh, and then I haven't even learned the Google ones yet, because it's just, things are pretty good. You know, it's just, there's so much on the plate sometimes. And then I do this like once a week because I love this. And it's kind of like my night to come out and have a beer and just chat, have a good conversation, right? Because I have the business, have the wife, have the baby, not the baby, but the daughter. And, you know, I'm usually really busy, so I don't get out much. But yeah, I love doing this. And yeah, it's crazy because, you have to learn everything, man. It's crazy. And you got to be a leader for your team.
Yeah.
And then, you know, me and my wife built this together. So then we go home, And then, my wife will, kind of talk about work all day. And I'm like, okay, well, when we're here, I don't care. Just leave me alone. Let me turn my brain off and just watch a movie. But yeah, men and women are different, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's the short version of that. But yeah, man. So how about your lifestyle? Your lifestyle in Taiwan as compared to like the States? It's pretty different.
Compared to the States.
Yeah, like maybe the top 3 differences of, living there and living here for you.
Okay. Let me think
Are there
for a
any?
second.
Or is it the same?
I mean, like, I've always been myself, so what I mean by that is like,
Sure.
okay, I go to a cafe almost every day, and I work on my laptop. I go to the
Okay.
gym. I hang out with friends. So that part is quite stable. But if I were to talk about maybe some of the difference, maybe eating out, I eat out everywhere in Taiwan because the food is everywhere and it's affordable. In the US, if you eat out, it's very expensive and you have to drive the car. It's a big inconvenience. It's much easier to buy food and then you cook it at home.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of the main differences.
Yeah.
Transportation's another big difference. In Taipei, it's so convenient. I take the U-bike everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't even take the bus. I rarely take the MRT. I just U-bike everywhere. I'm so happy on the U-bike.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. In the US, again, you can't really walk around or do these kind of things. So yeah, Taiwan's much safer too. So I can just leave my phone here. I can go to the bathroom and come back. And
That's
it'll
the
be
crazy.
here.
That's crazy,
Yeah,
right?
that's wild. Blows my mind.
You can go into like a Starbucks and just like you're doing your work and you're like, oh shoot, that coffee, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And then you just leave everything plugged in and just leave it all there
And
and
come back.
come back 20 minutes later or whatever, and it's all there. No one's looked at it. No one's touched it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I will drop my wallet in the park,
Yeah.
and they will come to my house and personally give it to me.
Yeah, I've lost my wallet, my keys, my cell,
Yeah.
so many times.
Yeah.
And they always come back. It's crazy.
It's something that I think perhaps people living here might take for granted.
For
that
sure.
The rest of the world is not like this.
It's crazy. It's funny because before we did this branch, we were looking at some equipment for the kitchen. So we
Yeah.
went to Mexico to visit some family and look at some gear. And we were in downtown, Guadalajara. It's a pretty big city. And,
Yeah.
going to the downtown area, it's Mexico, so it's not 100% safe. It's kind of a nicer area, but still not 100% safe. And my wife's just got her iPhone sticking out of the car, just kind of recording the downtown area. And my uncle's just kind of, what the hell is she doing? She's going to lose her phone. She's
Yeah.
going to lose her arm,
Damn.
So I told her, don't touch it. Don't do that. And we had to go to a foreign currency exchange place. And you cannot park in front of that place because if you're going in changing money, that means you have money. So there's just people chilling out there in front.
waiting.
Just waiting. So my uncle's like, okay, I'm going to drop you
Probably.
off here, go in, and I'm just going to just keep circling the block. If you don't see me, just wait. And if you see me, just bolt into the car. And I thought, holy crap, this is crazy. And because I've been living here for so long, I forget. I just
Yeah.
forget everything.
Yeah.
Canada is safe, but it's still nothing compares to here.
Yeah.
Like in Canada, you can still go to this, one of the malls in the city and look wrong at somebody, and then there's a fight, or somebody's going to try to, talk shit or whatever.
Yeah.
Here, everybody's just kind of doing their thing. They're busy and
They're chill.
just chilling. Man. I love that. It's crazy. Yeah.
Peaceful place.
I love that, man. Yeah. I got some pictures. Let me pull up some pictures here, man.
Oh, got
a lot of
pictures.
modeling gigs in here, man. So there you go. Tell me about that. That's a shiny outfit you got there, man.
Little sparkly spandex I got on there. So this was for a fashion walk on top of Babylon, if you know Babylon.
I've heard of it.
Babylon is, Xinyi.
I don't get out much, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not anymore. yeah.
So Xinyi has a lot of clubs and a lot of bars. And
This I
Babylon
know.
is one of the rooftop bars right next to Taipei
heard-
101.
Okay, I've
Yeah.
heard of it. Okay.
Babylon's nice. It's more, I would say, appealed to foreigners.
Oh, really?
They have a lot of
Okay.
foreign music. A lot of
nice.
foreigners are there. And it has a very beautiful view of Taipei 101. You're on the very top of the roof.
Okay.
And they had some fashion event for people there. And so this is me wearing whatever this is.
Okay, I was gonna
Yeah,
say
yeah.
they put that on you. Okay, cool.
It's not
I was
my own
curious what that
clothes.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
This looks like a big event. No.
Yeah, so this one I've already changed back into my own clothes.
Oh, okay.
But you can still see I have makeup on and
Yeah.
my hair done as well. This was for Woollex Taipei Fashion Week, so
Nice.
catwalk there as well. And the outfit I wore there was like this green. I don't even know how to describe it, to be honest. Some fashion,
Okay.
some fashion thing.
So how do you feel like when you're the model and that they're just throwing whatever on you and you're like, all right, cool, load me up?
Yeah,
Or is it awkward, or it must be? I would think, no.
Yeah, like in the beginning, yeah.
Okay.
But now I'm like, I've gotten used to it, right? You get used to like changing in front of everybody. You get
Okay.
used to wearing whatever. Sometimes you get put into some really weird outfits. Like I've been dressed up as like Ken from Barbie.
I got that on here, dude. Check it out. There you go. Look at that, Ken. That's a great one, man. I have a little girl, so I had to go see the movie, right? We saw that movie. It was awesome. I had to get that.
Yeah.
That's so good. So good.
That's funny that you have that.
You
Photo,
gotta have
though.
it. It's so good. So good. Yeah.
That was to promote Warner Bros.
Of course. Yeah.
movie, yeah.
That would be a huge gig, I would think. No, I mean, there's not too many, like I said,
It was
blonde hair, blue-eyed guys
yeah.
rolling that are fit, right?
Oh.
Rolling around. So that's a good
It
gig.
was interesting. You see, like I'm not even wearing a shirt. They just give me like this,
Yeah.
this
They're like, you're
denim jacket. Yeah.
That was
And,
awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome, man.
That day I heard the Barbie song like 200 times because
Really?
they played that one song on repeat.
Oh, really?
And so like that event was like, to show people the movie, to advertise it, things like
yeah,
this.
sure.
And so like that song was stuck in my head for a long time.
Okay. A couple more.
This
Brandon,
is
that's
for
Brandon,
Brandon.
right?
Yeah.
Brandon's solid, man. Love Brandon.
Yeah. This is actually how me and Brandon met.
Oh, really? This?
Yeah, we
Okay.
had the photo shoot together. He is an angel and I'm a devil. That was the theme of this one.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's us fighting. There's us like.
I saw some pictures on there.
Yeah.
I didn't bring them up. But
Less
yeah.
fighting.
Yeah.
It's like the love and hate between the devil and the angel. Some cool
Gotcha.
shoot like this. Yeah.
That's cool.
This one was actually a lot of fun.
And that's how you met him.
Yeah, that's how I met Brandon. Yeah.
It's nice, man. Right
Been
on.
close friends after.
You were talking about catwalks, right? This is kind of like a catwalk
Oh,
deal,
yes.
right? No?
You can see all the rich.
Yeah, I saw
eyes.
that. I saw that.
All the sugar
Yeah.
mamas
All
there.
the sugar mamas. Yeah.
You know, I
that
have
go?
been like approached at these events.
That's
where they're
awesome,
like,
dude.
if you have any problem in Taiwan, just tell me. And I'm like, okay.
It's like a number folded all up here.
Yeah.
Some panties. It's like, here, just take those with you. That's awesome. That's awesome, man.
So
Too good.
This one, yeah.
And then you got this.
this-
It looks like a wedding picture. I was like, is this guy married?
does.
No, he's
Oh.
not. Yeah.
Now that
But
you
then I
say it,
went through
I
it,
do
yeah.
see it. Yeah. This was for the International Supermodel Contest.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that. That's cool.
It was fun. So the woman you see here, I've been working with her for some time, just
Okay.
doing some catwalks
Okay.
for her company, and so I've known her for a long time. So she invited me to this contest.
Okay.
And the contest had two different performances. One where you wear like beachwear.
Okay.
So there's like one of me just in a swim trunk.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
the second one is more formal. This is a nice suit that I got from some place in Shirley, anyways.
Okay.
So it had two parts, and then basically again catwalk posing, and that was it. And they they rate you. You can see here I got
You won,
the
right?
best.
It looks like, right?
Yeah, and I also got best body too. which
Yeah.
was-
Nice. All right.
All
All
the
right.
fitness.
All right.
It was really fun.
I think I got a couple more, and then we'll keep going on that.
Oh, this is the cowboy
This
one.
is the cowboy one. It's hilarious. Yeah.
I feel like just the Barbie doll, like, and now that you pull up the
Yeah.
photos, because I haven't actually like gone back and looked at the photos.
Okay,
So this
yeah.
is interesting for me.
Okay.
Yeah, again for another catwalk.
There's a bunch of dudes on the other side, but I think the
Yeah.
girls look better. So.
Yeah, you did a good job cropping
Yeah,
the photo.
crop
You
the
cropped
dudes
it.
out. Yeah. Hey, I'm still a man at the end of the day, right?
They,
yeah.
they see American and they're like, okay, cowboy hat,
Cowboy.
and, like denim jacket again.
Nice.
Yeah,
and,
I get
and the flag on the denim.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
stereotyped.
That's what everyone wears in the States,
Yeah,
apparently.
this
right?
is me going to college in the U.S.
All right. This is, I think you said this is
Oh,
one of the
that's a long
first days,
time,
right?
Yeah. When I first came to Taiwan, and I just got out of quarantine, I didn't know anybody, and the Taiwanese guy that's wearing the blue shirt on my left was my old roommate. And then the other 4 people, well, the one on the far left is also like a guy from Australia who was my roommate as well.
Okay.
And then the other 3 are actually the neighbors that live downstairs, but from the same landlady.
Okay.
So the 2 apartments were from the same landlady. And so they celebrated with me. And they were my first friends in Taiwan, actually. Because,
Okay.
you know, at that time I
Yeah.
couldn't speak Chinese.
Of course, yeah.
And they were my roommates. They took me around. Like, I remember, like, just being so shocked about going to, like, the breakfast place. And like,
it's so cheap.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
like eating the songhui mianbao.
Okay, yeah.
And I
yeah,
was like
yeah.
so shocked. Yeah. And yeah, they taught me around. And I remember being so shocked at like when they spoke Chinese. I was just like,
Wow, it sounds
so
amazing.
cool.
It's funny, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really old image.
That's a funny one. No, but there was, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you were talking about, for me when I came, and you know, I had the school I was working at. They paid, you know, they did the dorm thing, and I had 2 or 3 people that lived in there as well. And they're like, okay, let's go out for dinner. It's like my first night. I'm like, all right, let's go. And they're like, we're going to McDonald's. I'm like, can we like not do
Yeah,
McDonald's?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
like for the first night,
You want to
and
try
I'm
something?
like, can I try anything else?
Oh.
And we walked by a shabu shabu, right?
Okay.
Like a whole.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, what's this? And they were all foreigners, and they spoke
Yeah.
0 Chinese. They're like, oh, those places suck, you know.
Oh.
And I'm like, really? I'm like, let's go. Let's just try it. You know, I'll buy dinner or whatever. Let's just try it out. So you go in. I had 0 Chinese. They had like 0 Chinese.
Yeah.
So we went in, and we had hot pot, and it was the first time having hot pot. But because no one spoke Chinese, and the people working there were kind of like, you know, freaking out. They're like, who are these people? No one told us that you need to have a sauce. So we had hot pot with no sauce.
Oh.
And it was just like boiled vegetables with no sauce. And we're eating it, and I'm just like, this tastes like nothing. You know, there's
Yeah.
no flavor here, you know? And they're like, I told you, we should have just went to McDonald's, you know? And I'm like, what? So yeah, eventually when I, you know, started dating, I went to a hot pot place. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't like hot pot. And they're like, just come. And then, you know, the garlic and all the sauces, you know.
Oh.
It's good. I love hot pot. Yeah, just you got to have the good sauce. You got to have the right sauce.
Oh.
The right sauce, yeah.
I want to say I had the same experience when I came to Taiwan.
Yeah?
But not with hot pot. It's with the noodles. So I went, when I first came to Taiwan, to one of the places, I randomly ordered a bowl of noodles. And I was eating it, and I'm like, it's so bland.
Just
it has
boiled
no
noodles.
flavor whatsoever. Because I didn't mix it. I didn't know the sauce is at the bottom of the bowl.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
have that custom in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Ai saw me eating the bland noodles like with this like sad face expression. Yeah,
That's
I'm
funny.
like, wow, Taiwan food tastes so bad.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then she comes, she angrily like grabs the bowl, mixes it for me, and gives it back.
That's the best, yeah.
It was cute.
And one of the other funny things was across the street from us, there was this like this Taiwanese guy who was doing teppanyaki, right? And after about 2 months, and I kept walking by this place, and I would go in. I spoke no Chinese, and I would just see this guy grilling meat, and I just screw it, I'm just gonna go in. And I went in, and I just kind of was like, you know, looked in. I pointed at, you know, the guys who was eating his food, and he's just like, oh, salan niu pai, right?
Oh.
And I'm like, I heard sirloin, right? And I'm like, so I went for like 6 months, like every day for dinner. And I'm like, oh, sirloin. And he's like, oh, salan niu pai. And we're totally like not saying the same thing, but we thought we were. And I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, this is not that bad, you know? And had like steak for dinner every day. It was crazy, man. Yeah.
That sounds good.
And it was like, you know, why didn't anyone tell me about this place? We're going to friggin' McDonald's, and it sucks, you know? And
Oh, I love
crazy.
teppanyaki.
Me too.
Yeah, I really love it.
back in the day, they were like on every corner, and now they're still around, but there's not as many as there was before. But I love it. I love it. Like I love teppanyaki, man.
Teppanyaki.
Do you have any other favorite foods? Like if you go back to States, let's say 3 months, 6 months, and then you come back to Taiwan, favorite foods, first meal you would have in Taiwan.
Oh, that's hard to choose. Like, I think I have been accustomed to the food here in Taiwan. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like become part of my daily routine. So
Yeah.
to pick one would be difficult.
Okay.
But the first one that came to mind actually is xiaolongbao.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
just dumplings.
Din Tai Fung, or just like Mama on the side of the road making them?
Mama on the side of the road. Yeah,
Nice,
those
nice,
are the
nice.
ones that hit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like Din Tai Fung is great. Is great as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
when you have like, you know, the people on the side of the road just making them, and
Yeah.
they're bigger and they're juicier, and
Yeah.
they're super. I love xiaolongbao. I eat that probably, once a week or once every 2 weeks. Yeah, that's why it's hard to go carnivore here because
Yeah.
everything is they've
has
got some kind of carbs in it,
some
right?
kind of rice product.
Yeah, some kind of rice or there's rice or noodles or rice noodles. It's like all right, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Kind of funny. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's okay to do it with a restaurant, but then you just kind of get like I get bored fast because I like food.
Yeah.
Man, so I don't know. I mean, I think we've hit most of the topics, but do you have anything that you wanna say before I get you dinner?
What to say, huh?
Yeah, something about Taiwan. Something about the States. Anything, whatever you want to say.
Let me think of a question for you then.
I'll go for it, man.
Yeah, I think that would be better.
Whatever you want, brother. I'm an open book.
So for entrepreneurship, like,
Yeah.
how did you get into it in the beginning? Like, how did you raise the capital? How did you make the connections? How did you learn everything? And when did you start? Did you go to college?
Okay, so I did not go to college for it. I did a year of college in Canada, and I actually was going to be a police officer in Canada.
Okay.
And I didn't have to finish the college, and I was able to take the test.
Yeah.
So I took the test, passed the written, passed the physical,
Okay.
passed everything, got all the way to the end, and failed the final sort of. They interview for like 2 or 3 hours. Failed that. They said you're just too young. You're like 21, 22. You don't have that life experience. And what they meant was that bad life experience. Some of the questions were like, have you ever seen anyone murdered? Have you ever seen anyone beat to death? And I'm like,
No.
If there's murders going down, I'm taking my guys and we're out. I'm not getting murdered, And so they're like, well, you need to go out and get that life experience. You can reapply in 2 years. And I said, well, 2 years, So I came out here. I finished my job there, and I came out here, planned on coming for 2 years. And I loved it. I came out here. I was teaching, coaching.
Okay.
And I was actually a pretty quiet-ish, shy person at the time, coming from a small town, and then coming here where, there's beautiful women kind of throwing themselves at you all the time. And you're like, whoa, okay.
Oh.
It was I'm not complaining. It was great, right?
Yeah.
It was good times for sure. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But, eventually I met my wife, and we got serious, and we got married. And her dream was to open a coffee shop. And I think a lot of people love coffee shops in Taiwan. They're everywhere, right? Every corner has like 5. Tianmu probably has like 200. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And, for me, at the time, I didn't really drink coffee. And so I told her if I do drink coffee, if I do a coffee shop, it's kind of, for me, like a bit of a lie, because that's like if you're a coffee guy, then do it. If you're like the coffee guy, okay, do it. But for me, I was like not really a big coffee guy at the time, and I said, well, I don't want to do like live the lie type deal, and so she tried my family's food, and I said, well, we can do Mexican food because I learned some from my mom, and I could just hit up my mom and stuff, and so we started with a stand in a night market.
Okay.
16, 17 years ago or something like that. And
How old were you then?
I was 28.
Okay.
So 27, 28, something like that. So I'm 46 now.
You did not look 46.
Well, thank you.
Wow.
I'll take it.
What is the skincare routine?
I gotta keep it. Gotta keep it. I'm trying, man, but I feel sometimes I feel it. But I'm 46.
Okay.
And so we didn't know how to open a stand. But we were in Danshui at the time, walking up and down the street, Danshui, Laojie, that street there. We were walking up and down, and we used to get this like Thai milk tea from this lady.
Okay.
And we were like, hey, how do you get a spot here? And she said, you just have to talk to the person that owns the building. They own the piece of land in front as well. And so I said, okay, cool. And I said, well, how do I find that person? And the lady said, actually, I'm giving up at the end of this month. So if you want this spot, just talk to the guy next to us, and he owns the land. So I talked to the guy, and he's like, yeah, you want the spot? We weren't even ready. We had like no plans. And I said, he's like, this place, they go quick.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, just let me get your number. Let me think about it. And we went home and we thought about it. And then the next day we just like, fuck it, let's just pay. So we just paid. We were like, we just got married, no kids, no mortgage or anything like that. We said, okay, let's do it. So we went, and then behind Ximending, there's a street,
Okay.
What's it called? Huanghe Beilu or
Okay.
Huanghe Nanlu. I can't remember. But it's like half, restaurant street, and then the other half is like restaurant graveyard.
Okay.
It's like all the
Oh.
restaurants that went out. People that just buy their stuff for pennies on the dollar and they just sell them, right?
Okay.
So we went in there and we bought some stuff from both, and we bought a stand and stuff like that, and we just thought, okay, let's do it. And I started to practice. We practiced the food. For the first while, the food was not very good, and eventually, before we opened, we kind of were like, let's do it. And my first the first year we had the stand. I would teach kindergarten in the morning, come back at lunch. My wife would have lunch ready. Then I'd make beans, rice, chicken, and tortilla dough. And then I'd go home. No, I'd go back to work from like 2 to 4. And about 3:30, I'd come back. I'd pick up all the food, pick up my wife, and we'd go to the stand, set up the stand, get everything going. I'd set it up, and then I'd leave. And then I'd go coach soccer for 2 hours. And then I'd come back, and we'd sell burritos until like 10 p.m. So we did that for about a year, which was crazy. It was crazy.
That's a wild schedule, dude.
It was crazy. Yeah, but again,
Oh.
like 28 years old, no problem, right? It was crazy. And so sometimes we'd open like late. Supposed to open at like 3:30 or 4, and then sometimes it'd be 30 minutes late, and people would be like, "Oh, you guys are late." I'm like, "You have no idea all the crap I have to do to be here." But yeah, we did that for 1 year, and we went to a less busy street for the second iteration. It was a small restaurant, less busy street, but way better rent. And then we got lucky with a place in Tianmu because somebody who had a place here,
Okay.
they came to our restaurant. They're like, restaurant is tough. Like, these guys opened a restaurant for their like twilight retirement years,
Okay.
and they're like, this is way more work than work.
Yeah, yeah,
So they're like,
definitely.
this
definitely.
sucks. They're like, this sucks. So do you want to come and take it? And I said, well, Tianmu's expensive. We can't really take that right now. And then they said, yeah, just come and look at it, and then we'll figure it out. So we loved it, and we took a little place in Tianmu. And then eventually we had 2 places in Tianmu. We had an investor for this place. And then we closed the other one. We bought out the investor here. And yeah, it's been pretty, it's kind of a crazy road. But yeah, it's been good. In the beginning, we just saved up a little bit, and you can do it for cheap. I think if whatever you want to do, you can kind of like bootstrap it. And I painted everything myself. I had a buddy who's pretty good with woodworking, and he built the first bar. And then the kitchen was just like the most basic kitchen ever. And
Yeah.
it was way slower because it was just a basic place. But yeah, slowly we built up a little bit of capital, and then we kept going. And yeah,
That's awesome.
Just piece by piece. That's the really slow way, but that's what we did.
Oh.
Because if I was to open this place, like from day one, we for sure would have been like done. Yeah. Because at that time there was no Mexican food.
Yeah.
And people didn't even know what Mexican food was
Uh-uh.
here. And at that time, in the night markets, Indian food was like on the rise. So they had these people that were throwing like naan, looked like pizza, but they were
Okay,
just like
okay.
Indian flatbread, right? Like
Yeah.
naan or roti, whatever. And they would cook them there. And so when we were like rolling our tortillas, people thought we were Indian food. And we're like, no, we're not Indian food. And they thought, yeah, Indian. So it took a while for people to even know what we were. And then slowly it's got there. Yeah. It's crazy though, man. That's the short version, but it's a long time.
I love hearing the stories of how people progress throughout life and
Yeah.
accomplish what they did. That's really cool.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And like I said, now it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously, COVID sucked, and that kind of like trashed the savings a little bit. And so I
Yeah.
didn't get to, the tough part is for like 10 years, you're building your business, and, my best friend from high school, we're going to be best man, my best man or whatever.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go to the wedding because it was in Canada, is in Toronto, like the other side of Canada, and there was just no money. Nephew graduated, niece graduated, everybody's doing all this stuff. I just couldn't go because there's just no money to go. You know? So it was crazy. It's kind of
It's
a
hard,
lot of
yeah.
sacrifice, man. It's pretty crazy. But when you do get back, then it's pretty awesome. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love going back to visit, but yeah, it's awesome.
Oh.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, that's
awesome.
that's the short version, but yeah, for sure, man.
Thank you for sharing that with
My
me.
pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Anything else you need to know from me, just let me know.
Okay.
Do you have anything you want to say before we call it?
Thank you everyone for watching, and maybe check out my Instagram.
In the description below, I'll put the Instagram and all that stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
Beautiful, man. Thank you guys
Awesome.
for watching, and we will see you guys next week. All right.
Awesome.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you everybody for watching Eddie's show. We feel only happiness, don't feel any sorrow. Welcome everybody to watch more on his content. Eddie Live Podcast. Eddie Live Podcast.